This year, the Headache Migraine Award is funded by the Constance Mary Heidenreich and the Michael Roger Sterling Estates, and the award goes to Lynn Griffiths from Griffith University for her project Genes in Migraine, Iron Metabolism.
Thank you very much to the Brain Foundation, and it's just a real pleasure to accept this award to support our migraine genetics research. It's also a real pleasure to see both Jim McLeod and Jim Lentz sitting in the audience in the front row as well. We've been working on migraine for a number of years. It's a very common disorder, as you're all aware. About 12% of the population is affected by migraine, 3 times more females than males. And there's a very significant genetic component. So about 90% of migraineurs have a close relative who also suffers from it. So as Her Excellency just said, she's got 3 generations of migraine, and this is exactly what you find. We've been trying to track down the genes that play a role in migraine and have identified some of these, but certainly not all. Recently, we undertook something called a genome-wide association scan. And this is where we test a number of markers across all of the different chromosomes to try and identify what chromosomes play a role. And to do these studies, we used a unique population from Norfolk Island. This population comes from a small number of founders from the Bounty Mutineers and the Tahitian women that originally went with them to Pitcairn Island first and then Norfolk. But from our point of view, Norfolk Island is a genetic isolate. We can trace the current inhabitants back 12 generations to their founders, and we can find a very large 6,500 person pedigree that can help us with our studies on disorders like migraine. If you look at a genetic isolate, you expect to see an increase in genes for disease if you happen to have a gene there. And in fact, I said migraine occurs in 12% of the population. In Norfolk, it occurs in 25% of the population. So it has a high prevalence of migraine, and it's a very useful population to investigate migraine. Our studies from this population recently have identified a new region on the X chromosome that seems to be playing a role in this particular pedigree. We've been able to indicate a particular gene that we think is involved, and currently these funds will support us to sequence this gene through the whole Norfolk population, but also through outbred non-Norfolk populations in the rest of Australia and in America. What we're trying to do is to track down the genes that play a role so that we can have better diagnosis for migraine, but we can then use this information to come up with new treatments. This particular award will support a postdoctoral fellow, Dr. Bridget Mayer, who's going to undertake this work in my lab, and I'm very much appreciative of the support for this research. Thank you.